So the first update in Conan's unofficial Age of Fixes is now finally out, but what has this patch actually added, and has it managed to at least go some way towards improving the state of the game's many bugs? Today we'll go through the patch notes to find what's changed, what's fixed, and what work remains to be done. Before we get into it, quick shameless self-promo, consider checking out my content over on Patreon where you can get videos early, your name at the end of every video, or just join for free to see previews and progress logs for the upcoming Settlers Season 4. Plug over, let's get into the patch. Firstly, there are a few things the devs told us about ahead of time. The fortress at Al-Merayah has been officially removed after many complaints about its performance. The concept was great, the execution less than ideal. It's now been replaced by the old Dogs of the Desert camp, the Sacred Hunt Cave is still here, and hopefully if the devs decide to repeat this concept in the future, it will be in a much more successful fashion. Secondly, stamina costs have been readjusted based on player feedback. Attacks across the board now cost 50% less stamina, but regen has also been increased to close to pre-Age of War levels. These are the raw numbers. Stamina regeneration time and stamina exhaustion time are both at 3.75, stamina on consume regen pause is 1.3, and stamina on exhaustion regen pause is 2.75, alongside re-adding the exhausted state. This isn't my area of expertise, to be honest, and it's something that I think players will need to experiment with and see how they feel and if it makes combat better for them. Finally, the devs have added a compass through the new Wayfinder knowledge. Learn the feat, craft it, and it will display a new icon on your HUD so long as you keep the item in your inventory. I'll be covering this in a video on Friday where we talk all about this new addition, if it has any real purpose, and I'll be trying to find out any hidden uses too. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. Now let's get into the patch notes proper. Firstly, some crash fixes. The team have fixed crashes related to selecting in the construction menu, immediately after loading a session on the Exile lands, when you entered the knowledge menu, and when swapping from Spanish to English. I actually had that crash when loading into the Exile lands a few times, so it's good that it's fixed. On the companions front, the following. Fixed Lufey being practically immortal in PvP, increased random spawn chances of the elite boar for Freya's hunt portion of her quest, fixed typos in Freya's questline dialogue and Lufey's ability descriptions, added a cooldown to Lufey's phantasmal simulacrum ability, and there is no longer a floating pillow inside the room with the research papers in Lufey's quest. I've heard in the past that people were still having issues with Freya's campfire step and both companions cutting off their own dialogue. No mention of those being fixed here, so those two things may still be an issue. On the living settlements front, the following. Doors now have a lock and unlock function, so you can now choose whether thralls are allowed or not allowed to open them. Fixed an issue where players couldn't complete the Thrall Taker, Master Chief and High Priest journeys through assigning thralls. I got a lot of comments about this one, so it's good that it's fixed. Settlement thralls should no longer get stuck at chairs when close to a table. This was a pretty persistent issue. Settlement thrall behaviour has been fixed after using some beds. Fixed an issue where settlement thralls would not use various seating including the Yamatai bar stool, Stygian sedan chair and numerous throne types. And finally updated the Veneer Tavern keg so thralls stand on the side of the keg with the spout. Building gets quite a lot of fixes this time around, some of which are quite good. There's a lot here so I won't cover all of them. The full patch notes are linked in the description if you'd like to see them, but here are some of the highlights. Pyramid pillars will no longer clip through ceilings, door frames can now be placed under ceilings, fixed an issue where several pieces wouldn't be able to replace pieces from other categories. Hopefully this fixes that issue for insulated wooden door frames, they've been bugged for quite a while at this point. Spiral stairs now ignore walls and are more flexible, the Barachian bonfire and hammock now cast shadows, fixed sorcerer and magi skulls being unable to be placed, the arcane curio cabinet is now under the decorations tab, ceilings can now properly snap to the Turanian L-shaped stairs, the archer post has been moved from the construction hammer to the carpenter's bench, the Yamatai folding screen no longer has low resolution art, some Stygian pyramid building pieces have had a cost reduction to match other sets, Stygian pyramid slant foundations can now be placed next to a wall properly, and Stygian trebuchet bases now require the engineer knowledge. On the journeys front, a couple of things fixed here that make journeys a bit more consistent. Fixed an issue where placing and binding to a bed for the Homesteader journey didn't work on a bedroll, fixed Dungeon Delver not progressing when entering the dregs, fixed rule taker not remaining complete on dedicated servers, and when you complete the Beastmaster journey, alongside getting the recipe for the Ratcatcher's Whistle and a Shade Bloom, you'll also get the Ratcatcher's Whistle itself. Finally, harvest aloe leaves from the Alchemist journey can now be completed by harvesting aloe leaves from any location. On the quality of life front, there are various fixes, some minor and some quite major. For the highlights, coin piles now take damage, spear attacks have had their hitbox detection happen 1 frame earlier, thralls can now use dual axes properly, winged death has a 100% legendary drop rate, Black Corsair sorcerers can be knocked out again, normal and alpha variants of the Pictish Sabertooth deal more damage, and the skeletal horse and undead rhino are now classed as mount thralls and not fighters, so hopefully that should make them stop trying to fight everything. There's a few other things of varying importance here, but those seem to be the big ones. There's a lot of UI and text fixes, some of which is just typos or minor text bugs in descriptions. The most important ones are an update to the delving bench to show the items needed, consumables showing their correct heat or cold resistances in the inspect window, and the Corinthian academic set now showing its temperature stats. Again, most of this is quite minor. On the audio front, there are some miscellaneous fixes, mainly focused on placeables, none are too noteworthy, mainly just sound cues and the type of sound items made when you interacted with them. Modding has also had a few updates to how character customization and blueprints work. It's not really relevant for us regular players, though it may break some unsupported character customization mods. On the exploits front, only 3 things fixed, and they are as follows. It should no longer be possible for an exile to have 30 resurrected corpses following them, stable fence gate frame pillars can no longer be stacked, and an issue with the rage hammer has been fixed. These seem a little short on info, to be frank, though that may be deliberate so as not to give out too much information on old and potentially current or future exploits. Finally, the miscellaneous section is quite hefty. There are numerous fixes of varying importance, but some of the most notable ones are as follows. Fixed an issue where mining multiple rocks could cause a major performance drop. Tier 4 carpenters and taskmasters now correctly reduce the weight of carried items. Disabled tavern visitor teleporting when no path is available. Fixed an issue where players killed by undermesh can permanently lose collision. Emotes are now interrupted when attacked or trying to attack. Fixed a number of terrain spikes in the Exile lands. The Barrow King no longer fights barehanded. Tier 3 Purge Headhunters can now use more than just spears, and Treasure Seekers can now spawn in Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3 variants. XP has been reduced from crafting Stone Guardian parts alongside killing Purge or Kurak Golems. Blacksmiths now grant crafting bonuses to tools, and Tier 4 blacksmiths can now increase tool durability as expected. Zingara Mercenary Armour now requires the correct crafting materials for its weight class. The Harlot's 4th Journal no longer undermeshes. Fatalities will now count as a kill to open the Dregs dungeon, and loads more in this category, again of varying importance. Overall, this patch has definitely fixed some issues. It's certainly not the most exciting bunch of patch notes, but that's fine, and frankly, is to be expected. Fixes to the inventory system were conspicuous in their absence here, but hopefully they'll come around in a future patch, as that system does seem to have a lot of deep and complex issues. I've seen some discussion as well that PvPers don't really seem to be too happy with the spear frame change. I can't really comment, to be honest. I'm not a PvP player, so I can't really claim to have intimate knowledge on how it would affect those interactions. Additionally, Andy from the community team has been quite active. He's confirmed Twitch drops starting from the 25th of March. March 25th to April 9th is the Blood Crystal Katana, April 16th to 30th is the White Rabbit, and May 7th through 21st is the long-awaited return of the Watcher's Furniture, some of my favourites. Andy also said in the same post the team is aware of the Blood Crystal Chakram, a previous Twitch drop having stats that are far too high, and that will be fixed in the future. One of my Discord members also found a few new things in the admin panel that are likely coming into the bazaar at some point soon, so I'll be reviewing them when they do show up, and I'll also be scouring the panel myself to try and find anything they've missed. Now this patch, of course, hasn't fixed everything, and frankly they were never going to be able to fix everything all at once, especially particularly complex or sticky issues that might require extra care or investigation to really pull out root and stem. I checked the Conan Discord, and Andy mentioned they're still working on fixing the server list issue on consoles. They also unintentionally swapped the food and thirst meters that will be fixed in the next patch. Overall, this update seems to have taken a good swipe at a number of issues of varying sizes. It's certainly not an instant curative for every single issue, but hopefully those fixed here should go at least some way towards making the game a bit more stable and enjoyable. Again, I've included the link to the full patch notes in the description. I've not seen any issues reported so far as of the time of recording, touch wood. It's me from the future, interjecting a few hours after I recorded this. I've been keeping an eye on the forums. It does seem like Lufei's quest is currently bugged as you can't get some of the items you need, but the dev team are aware, they know what went wrong, and they are currently working on fixing it. Back to past me. But if you are running into new bugs, do let me know in the comments, and make sure you report them on the forums if you can. Whenever I see information about new bugs, I always try and forward that to funcom anyway, so again, if you are facing issues, let me know. Anyway, that will wrap us up for today. Quite a lengthy list of patch notes. On Friday, again, I'll be covering the new compass, seeing if it has any hidden functionality and trying to work out exactly what the point of it is. Thanks for watching, and a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultist for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to support the channel yourself, check out the Patreon through the link in the description, or join as a member here on YouTube by clicking join just below this video. Take care, and I'll see you soon.